Hey everyone, I am Justin, and that is Kyle, and we are the Fantasy Football Upside. Guess what? It's Friday, so it's a special Friday episode, and we're going to be doing our second mock draft of the season. So earlier this week, if you haven't caught those episodes that are going to be in the description below, click that link for me, please. Earlier this week, we dove deep into who we think will be breakout players, but also the players that you should avoid. So remember, win your draft, Kyle, and win your league. So real quick, if you want to learn who to draft when, what players to grab off the waiver wire, and other tons of fun fantasy football information, start now by subscribing, hitting the thumbs up, and go ahead and leave a comment if you have a question. Right now, we can definitely answer your question, and we may even give you a shout out on here. So we are going to be uploading every Tuesday and Thursday during the off season. But just like today, we're doing a special Friday episode. But when we get closer to the fantasy football draft season, you're going to have a lot more content coming out from us. So make sure you subscribe. Once again, we are on podcast as well. So we are almost caught up on all of the backlog that we had. So we should be getting new episodes at the same time that you're getting the YouTube video. So click us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and we're working on some other ones so we get everybody. So without further ado, Kyle.
All right.
Get right into our second
mock
draft of the season.
Friday mock. Let's do it, right? All right. So this is just going to be a standard scoring 12-team league. We're randomized here. We're doing one QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, 1 kicker, 1 defense. It's all listed right here with 6 bench spots as well. Standard scoring, 90 seconds on the clock per pick. Obviously, the computer is just going to run right through. If you weren't with us last time, definitely check out the last mock. We talk a lot about the Fantasy Pros software and how both of us actually we really actually like it for when you're doing your draft. It's got a lot of predictive analytics in it, and so it helps you to figure out, well, if this guy, if I'm deciding between him and one other guy, then hey, will one of them be here possibly next round?
Right.
And so it gives you a better idea a little bit, but you should also learn about the tendencies of the people in your league if you can. You may not be able to, but that's just part of it. All right. So Justin, if you want to go ahead, he's going to fire it up. You guys are watching my screen. Justin's going to be drafted on his side. You won't see his screen. He's the one setting it up here though, and he's going to fire it up. Can you go ahead and get it going?
It's already going and should be up on yours.
Well, it's getting ready to come up here. We had this last time. There's a bit of a delay there. Yeah. All right, so let's see what pick we got.
I have 3 and you have 4, so we're
there
back
you go.
to back.
Yeah, back to back. You're going to snipe me here. It's going to
be interesting.
All right, so.
Yeah, we're going to be sniping each other.
Yeah, back and forth.
All right, so we
look
had
at that.
Christian McCaffrey 1, Saquon Barkley 2. Shocker.
Who would have thought it? Really?
Who would have thunk? Yeah. Who would have thunk it? So here, non-PPR, Michael Thomas could be interesting if it was a PPR league. That's still pretty stiff, I think, for a PPR league. I'm going to look at running back. So now it's just a pick of, who's your favorite? Zeke, Derrick Henry, Kamara, even Dalvin Cook. Kind of depends on the contract situation with Dalvin Cook and, past history. And I'm not going to ask you what you would do because you're going to wait for whoever I pick to say who you want.
Yeah.
You're a Dalvin Cook truther. I'm going to assume you might pick him.
Well, I think that the truth was born out last year.
This is true. Very true. I think I'm actually just going to go ahead with Zeke. I think he's still going to get a lot of volume, even though, you've mentioned the Mike McCarthy offense doesn't always have a RB1, in fantasy type offenses, but I still think he's just too dang talented. So let's just go ahead and pick Zeke and move on.
All right. So we're going to definitely go running back here off the top for our pick on this side because the wide receiver depth is, I think, pretty good when you get – there's a lot of top-tier talent in the wide receivers. I would peg maybe like 4 or 5 solid running backs total
Mm-hmm.
and 7 wide receivers that are really, really good. I think that one of those wide receivers might be available coming back around on the turn. So for me, the question here does become, again, same as you had: Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, and Dalvin Cook.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I've got, let's see here. I've got Derrick Henry at 5, but I have Dalvin Cook at 3. I like Dalvin Cook a lot, and I think that team is going to feature him strongly still. I think the same can be said of Derrick Henry, and his second half last year was just absolutely outstanding. I
Yeah.
don't know if you can, poo-poo that at all, right?
No.
Obviously there's 0% chance that either of those guys is going to be available. And I'm just going to go ahead and go with Derrick Henry here. I think that
Okay.
in the end, that's probably the solid pick. My concern with Cook is that he doesn't have the greatest schedule this year. So,
Yeah.
all right. I'll run through, or you want to run through the picks here?
You can,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's going to be
Okay.
you. Yeah.
All right. So here we go. Let me scroll back up. It's still loading them in here. Okay. Ooh, George Kittle fell off the clock right there, right? He just got picked up. Yep.
No.
There you go, Justin. All right. So let me
Thank
get
you.
back up here. There's a lot of names to hit here. We've got Michael Thomas going right after that. Alvin Kamara. Austin Eckler goes ahead of
Ooh.
Dalvin Cook, then Joe Mixon, then Devontae Adams at the 10th pick, then Aaron Jones sneaking into the first round. Tyreek Hill at the back of the first round. Starting off with the second round, we've got Josh Jacobs, Julio Jones, Nick Chubb, Chris Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins, Kenny Galladay, Travis Kelce, George Kittle. All right, so we're looking for, I think at this point, probably a wide receiver. I do like Miles Sanders. We could try going running back, back to back. Let's look here and see what we've got sitting in wide receiver. Got Evans, Cooper, Beckham, running back. Wow, they're slating for whatever reason. They're pegging Kenyon Drake ahead of Miles Sanders this year.
I actually have Kenyon Drake above Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just by one. I mean,
his ADP is lower though. But so gosh. I'm gonna go
5
ahead.
seconds.
Yeah, I was reading off those names. That's the problem here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take Mike Evans here. We're gonna go with the hit draft. Did it get it?
Yep, you're good.
All right.
I'll read them next time for you. Like, you'll read them this next time so I can take a look.
All right.
So, like I said, I had Kenyon Drake just one spot ahead of Miles Sanders. And I am going to go running back, just because if you didn't pick Mike Evans, I would have picked Mike Evans. The other wide receivers, Amari Cooper, Odell Beckham, AJ Brown, Juju, that's what's on, the Fantasy Pros expert rankings. I don't think those are better values than a running back with the potential of either Kenyon Drake or Miles Sanders.
Yeah, not at this point.
No.
Like you said, you're missing out
wide receiver depth is just it. You'll see whenever we get ready to pick again that we're still going to have a lot of wide receivers available to us.
Yeah, but
I'm going to go ahead and go right off my board.
Right around here.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and go right off my board and just choose. I'm going to get Kenyon Drake. Yep. And then I think it's me again.
Yeah, it should be you. So I'll rip off the names here for you.
Thank you.
Wow. All right. So you got Russell Wilson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Miles Sanders, Melvin Gordon, and then you're back on
again.
Yep.
So we still have Mark Andrews available, Mari Cooper, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar, OBJ, AJ Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. So, I've gone running back, which is good because now, there's not a whole lot of running backs available that you would need to choose anyways at the beginning of the third round. Let's see here. I actually do have Odell ranked higher than Amari Cooper, which is definitely different than what you do. Yeah. I have OBJ at number 12 wide receiver and Amari Cooper at 16. So I think what I'm just going to go ahead and do and keep it moving ADP says 54 on Odell Beckham Jr. That's going to come back down to more of where we're at right now, in my opinion. Anyways, he's just too dang talented.
Yeah, I think people are fading him a little bit too hard there. So
it's just talent's still going to reign supreme. And I do see a bounce back for Baker. You haven't seen him out and doing commercials as much.
All right, so I'm on the clock here. Right now, if we look at our roster here, we're sitting here with Derrick Henry and Mike Evans. I would like to get a running back here if I can. Either way, what I want to do is I want to pair a guy who I think has the upside potential of making it to either wide receiver 1 level or running back 1 level, so that I can shore up any risk that I have with the 2 that I already have on my roster. And so what I'm considering here at this point is I like Amari Cooper. I like AJ Brown. But then I also like Todd Gurley. I think that Todd Gurley is going to show up as a running back 1.
Yep.
But I think that he is likely to fall a little bit here. I don't think that he's going to go off the board between now and my next pick.
It's a good amount of picks, though. That's a good amount of picks.
It is, but it's possible that he does or doesn't. I don't know. So I'm actually going to take the risk right now, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab Amari Cooper and create a strength out of an area that I think is a little bit volatile. So I'm going to do that. The reason I'm leaning against A.J. Brown is because I already have Derrick Henry on my roster. So I'm a little bit less inclined to do that.
Right. And then I'll go through here for us.
I just fell off. He just got picked.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you got picked 3 ahead of it. That's okay, though. That's the risk that you take, right? So
yeah. While you do some research real quick, so after Amari Cooper, we had Lamar Jackson, followed by Patrick Mahomes, T.Y. Hilton, Adam Thielen, Chris Carson, A.J. Brown, Mark Andrews, Juju Smith-Schuster at the end of the 3rd. At the beginning of the 4th, we had Allen Robinson, D.K. Metcalf, Mark Ingram, Le'Veon Bell, DJ Moore, Todd Gurley, Cooper Kupp, my little Cooper Kupp, and 8th pick in the 4th round. Leonard Fournette fell to the 8th pick of the 4th round.
That's very surprising. I've got him doing pretty well this year, actually. I think.
There's a lot of people fading him. Yeah. It's still.
I don't really understand.
Its volume is king. So
yeah, I don't really understand.
We only got 40 seconds left for you.
All right, so I'm looking at the running backs, and I'm not too impressed with what is available there. But I want to get a running back on my board here. I need to get somebody who I feel like has upside to hit as a 1.
Yeah.
David Montgomery is okay. Yep. I'm fading David Johnson in almost all circumstances. James Conner, I'm not a huge fan of. I do like Jonathan Taylor, but he's not going to give me a whole year. I think with Raheem Mostert, you have a guy who's probably going to be leading the whole year for that squad in the end. So that's where I'm going to go. It might be what they think a grab or a reach there, but I'm going to go after Raheem Mostert. Get somebody that I know is at least in a running back too. So,
yeah. And I mean, he was one of our league winners, I believe, in the episode.
Yeah.
I think it was mine. Like, I had him last year. He really helped me out, man. He looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When they actually feature him and give him the ball, right?
Yeah, I had a conversation with someone on Twitter, and it was talking about how Raheem Mostert's 28, and yet, Todd Gurley and some of these other guys are 25, 26, and yet, they have a lot more miles on them compared to Raheem Mostert.
All right, what you thinking here? You've got 2 running backs and wide receiver.
Yeah.
Got a minute on the clock here, less than.
Yeah.
Are you leaning anyway?
I mean, Calvin Ridley is definitely, I am really happy if I can get Calvin Ridley as my wide receiver 2. I think I'm doing just fine, in my opinion. He was another one of our breakout players that was mine, and it's just a pretty easy selection for me to have him at the almost end of the 4th round. I'm going to go ahead and move forward and pick Calvin Ridley.
All right.
And then it'll be me, so if you want to run through for me.
All right, Cortland Sutton, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Parker falls to the 5th round. Keenan Allen goes right behind Devontae Parker in the 2nd pick of the 5th round, and then you're back on the clock here.
No, this could not have worked out any better, in my opinion. Robert Woods is a guy that I really like this year as well. I like
Yeah,
him
well,
just
them losing Brandon Cooks is a great move for Robert Woods.
it really is. I mean, I like
Yeah.
Robert Woods just a little bit more than my little Cooper Kupp as well.
Well, I'll
Even
tell you,
though
I had Amari Cooper last year and paired up Robert Woods, thinking, well, Cooper's a little higher volatility. Robert Woods will be consistent, and it ended up being the other way around.
yeah,
It was very frustrating, but yeah.
yeah, that's why I do like
But the
Robert Woods
truth
a
is
lot
that
this year.
Robert Woods is a very consistent guy. Like, he's a high volume target, and he's a big dude. He's good in the blocking game, so he stays on the field.
And he's in line for some touchdown progression, I
Yeah.
believe, as well. I do think he's going to have some more touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
So let's just go ahead and choose Robert Woods. And then you are on the clock.
Yep. All right. So we could go to a wide receiver 1, who I believe is a 1. DK Metcalf's already off the board, but Tyler Lockett is the wide receiver 1 out in Seattle.
Yep.
He's still available. So we could fill the third slot on the wide receiver on our board right there with him. Or we can dip our toes into the depth at running back. I'm not considering tight end here for my 5th pick yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, Zach Ertz is available, and I could reach for a QB here if I felt like it. I'm a little higher on Dak Prescott than probably the 5th round. I think the 5th round is not a terrible value for him, but that's not where I'm going. I think in the end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take Tyler Lockett. I got a guy here who I believe to be a wide receiver 1. It's solid for me. As far as running backs, look, I like Jonathan Taylor. I think that I would like to see him fall from this pick a little bit. I don't know that he will. But I'm not going to spend my 5th pick on a guy who is right now not
15
getting
seconds.
Yeah, not going to have the start necessarily. So I'm going to go ahead and take Tyler Lockett and see what happens on the
I'll scroll up and let you.
Got Chark, Deebo Samuel came off the board. David Johnson.
Here, I can go through the list for you while you.
I'm watching as it scrolls.
Oh, okay. All right. So after Lockett was DJ Chark, Deebo Samuel. News today, broke his foot during a little off-season throwing session. It's a Jones injury. Typical frame is 8 to 10 weeks, I guess. One of his teammates actually had one last year, and he was out a whole year, so you got to look out for that. David Johnson was after that. Jonathan Taylor, AJ Green, Devin Singletary, James Conner, Zach Ertz, Marlon Mack at the beginning of the 6th round, and then David Montgomery, Tyler Higbee, Darren Waller, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Kerryon Johnson sighting in the 6th round, Stephon Diggs, and then it's you, sir.
All right, so I'm just checking to see what's gone off the board and who's still available. QB, there's a lot of depth still available. Tight end, there's a lot still available. You got Hayden Hurst still back there hiding. You got TJ Hawkinson if you want to take a flyer on somebody. You got Jack Doyle sitting back there still. And one of my super sleepers who I don't think I've gotten the chance to talk about, Blake Jarwin from the Cowboys.
Yeah,
I think he's going to surprise a lot of people this year. So
I'm still leaning.
Yeah. So right now I am still sitting on running back and wide receiver heavily. I can take a risk here on DeAndre Swift, but I think that guy's going to get the start, man, right off the bat. I think he's got this job locked up. And so you're getting volume out of that. So that's where I'm going, is DeAndre Swift, a depth pick who's going to have a hell of a year for you. So
dang it, Kyle.
As my 3rd running back, I like that. He's a flex for me. That's great. So, All right. So DeAndre Swift's off the board. What do you got?
Oh, you son of a gun, you. That's what I was looking at. So what we do have, look at my roster here. Let's see. We got Ezekiel Elliott, Kenyon Drake as my running backs, OBJ, Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods as my wide receivers. Running backs, they're not really screaming my name. Cam Akers is a potential, but it's a potential. That's what it is right now. I mean, there's 2 other running backs there.
Yeah, there's a lot of competition over there.
Yeah, at LA Rams. So
I think right now the running backs what's sitting on the board for you at running back is a lot of guys who are splitting, a lot of guys who are there's questions about whether or not they're going to be the starter, whether or not they're going to get enough volume to prove their value. It's back in the 6th round. You can start taking risk like that. But I think that you should probably be considering wide receiver pretty heavily here to see what the value really is. I mean, Michael Gallup here is a phenomenal value.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't choose Jarvis Landry.
Marvin Jones.
I know Marvin Jones is on there. I'm going to go ahead. You know what? Let's just go ahead and hit Marvin Jones because I have Ezekiel Elliott. I don't want to have another Cowboy on my team. I'm not a big fan of doubling up, teammates.
Yeah.
And
I'll read through what you got here. Okay, so Evan Ingram finally came off the board. Deshaun Watson, Michael Gallup went, and then Jarvis Landry. So all the guys that we were talking about right there, those guys fell down the board. That's crazy that they're going in the back of the 6th round, top of the 7th round for those 2 wide receivers at the top of the 7th. That's insane in my opinion.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking here now? You've got let me pull up your roster here.
Now we're working on depth already. I mean, I don't have a tight end slot. I don't have anybody in there right now anyways. I mean, now that Evan Ingram, was taken right after my Marvin Jones pick, I was going to pick Evan Ingram if he fell to this 7th round.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter Henry's still out there. Jared Cook is still out there. Not really feeling them at this moment. Maybe if they get to the 8th pick or 8th round, I should say. Or do I look at Hunter Henry now? Because, Cam Akers, I just said I'm not a big fan, and I don't want to choose Josh Allen right now at this point. You just don't know what's going to happen with Hunter Henry, but when he's on the field, he is dominant.
Yeah, but you have the question mark of who's throwing the ball to him this year. That's the real problem.
I'm going to go with the upside pick of Cam Akers, even though I just said that running back room is a little stiff.
He's the talented. Future there. He's the future.
Yeah, he's got the draft pedigree too, compared to the other 2.
All right, so somebody that I'm eyeing right now, and I probably shouldn't say it, is I like Kareem Hunt. Yep. I also like Keyshawn Vaughn. I like both of those guys. I really like J.K. Dobbins, and I think that offense is, by the end of the year, is going to be running through J.K. Dobbins. So I do like the running back situation here. If I pull up my roster, I'm already sitting on 3 of each running back and wide receiver. Evan Ingram's the only guy that went off the board here, and Deshaun Watson. I'm not too hot on Deshaun Watson,
right?
But those are the only 2 guys that went since the last time I checked on what depth was looking like at those positions right now. So it's more of a question of what do I want to do here? Who do I like in this position? As far as wide receiver, I'm not a huge fan of what's sitting here. I do like Christian Kirk, but he's got a little bit of his volume that's been stolen from him. I think that what I'm going to do is lean towards the running back again here. I think Geis is going to have a decent year. I also think that Hunt's going to have a pretty good year. I think he eats up Nick Chubb, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop down here and grab J.K. Dobbins. I'm going to see this is a bench spot here. I'm going to see what happens with this. I think by the beginning of the season, he's going to be running.
Just like the Akers pick, man. You're just looking for that upside, rookie running back.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, at least one rookie running back finishes in the top 12 every single year for the last decade.
So after your J.K. Dobbins pick, it was Keyshawn Vaughn, Darius Geis, Hunter Henry, Kareem Hunt, Julian Edelman, Josh Allen, Hollywood Brown, Sony Michel, and at the beginning of the 8th round, it was Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Tyler Boyd, Matt Ryan, Damian Williams, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Matt Breida, and you are up.
All right. So what I was talking about earlier was that there's a pick predictor here, right? And so you can hit that. We don't have it set up right now, but you can hit that and it'll give you an idea of who's going to come off the board next. I'm going to jump in here and see what the tight end depth is looking like. I still can't believe Rob Gronkowski is sitting as tight end 10. There's too much depth here to even consider. There's Fant, Hurst, Gesicki, Jonnu Smith, Hawkinson's okay, Goddard's okay, Doyle I think is going to be good, Jarwin. And then QB, I think, is still sitting pretty deep. Matt Stafford's creeping up near the front, but Roethlisberger's going to be solid. Tannehill will be okay. Cousins will be okay if I end up stuck with that. But what I'm looking at here is actually a bit of a reach probably because I want to make sure I get him. And that's Deontay Johnson. I want to get him onto my bench here. I think that guy is actually going to end up being a wide receiver 1 by the end of the season. So,
yeah.
That
was just on our
I don't mind getting him at the back.
Episodes.
Back of the 8th round. That's great value in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am up. I had Cam Akers. I'm looking at probably another running back actually. And I am born and bred IU. Jordan Howard is screaming my name.
Don't do it.
That is on my list right now of people I could potentially pick, as well as Carson Wentz.
Well, I think that there's been a big drop off in running back. I think that there has right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you're seeing are depth pieces at this point.
Yes, Jordan Howard is limited in the upside that he can do, but he could be a consistent performer because of what's there. Matt Breida's there. He was traded there, and I don't know what else is there in Miami. You know what I mean? So, they gave him a 2-year deal, I believe, to Jordan Howard for a reason. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose him and keep it moving.
Mm-hmm. All right. So here's who's coming off the board. We got your Jordan Howard pick, and then Ronald Jones, John Brown, Philip Lindsay, and Alan Lazard in the 9th round.
Wow.
I guess
picking him?
I'm not picking him in the 9th round, man. I'm not picking Alan Lazard ahead of Christian Kirk. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Or Mike Williams even on the Chargers? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Sanders in New Orleans. He's still on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Anthony Miller, he's going to have a decent year, especially if Foles is the starter. CeeDee Lamb's on the board if you want to take that flyer, right? That's just in the wide receiver category here.
Right. Anthony Miller is one that I'd like to choose, but as well as Emmanuel Sanders, that's a guy I kind of have circled as well. I think, being a wide receiver 2 in that offense could really be beneficial. People say, well, the wide receiver 2s don't perform and at the Saints. Well, that's because they haven't really had one.
Well, they haven't had anybody who's a volume receiver like Emmanuel Sanders is for a very long time. Right. He's just absolute volume.
But another thing is QB is still out there, and I am a big fan of Carson Wentz, and he's still there. We're in the 9th round. I don't think that's wrong to choose Carson Wentz in the 9th round, and actually, that is what I'm going to do.
All right.
And then we're, like we just said, we had a lot of wide receivers still there, so I'm hoping whenever it comes around to the 10th round, there'll still be a wide receiver for me.
Yeah. All right. So, like I said, running back is at this point pretty light. You're looking at backup guys mostly. So it's not, it's not stuff that I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
I'm sliding down the board here and there's just nothing that grabs me and says, hey, you should probably grab that guy right now. And then when I jump over to wide receiver, there are a couple guys there. I still want to check back, see what we're looking at tight end. And there's still a lot of depth at tight end. Tight end is sliding down the board as far as everybody goes. QB, at this point, the only guys that I'm looking at considering picking up are I don't mind Tom Brady because I think they're going to throw it a lot, and Matthew Stafford. But that's it. Like, if I miss out on those 2 guys, I'm not going to be happy necessarily with what I end up with.
Mm-hmm.
So I prefer Stafford in this situation just because I think that the schedule that he has is better than what Tom Brady is sitting with. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Matthew Stafford here. And,
nice.
And this is the spot to get him. So, all right. Coming off the board, what do we have?
So after, let me scroll back up here. Man, it just likes to go back down.
Well, until it fills out the picks, it's going to keep throwing them.
So after your Matt Stafford pick, it was James White, Christian Kirk, the San Francisco 49ers defense in the 9th round, Justin Jefferson.
New England went in the 10th.
Tevin Coleman, Darrell Henderson, Latavius Murray, Darius Slayton at the beginning of the 10th round, Mecole Hardman, Sterling Shepard, Alexander Madison, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, the New England Patriots defense, Robbie Anderson, and you are on the clock.
All right. So basically all we're looking at now is a tight end spot and 4 bench slots. The rest of it is wait for the waiver wire.
Yeah.
Essentially. I'm sitting with, so I want to do a roster check. I'm sitting with 1, 2, 3, 4 running backs. I'd like to get 2 more on my board here, and I've got 4 wide receivers as well. So, last draft, that's what I aimed for, was trying to get 6 and 6. I'm sitting here looking at the overall board, and it's telling me, screaming at me, pick a tight end, pick a tight end. I don't like those tight ends. I don't like Cook. He doesn't get the volume. I don't like Hooper, and I don't like Gronkowski. What I'm leaning towards is these wide receiver 2s and who I think might have better upside. And that's Anthony Miller or Emmanuel Sanders.
Yep.
That's really who I'm leaning towards right now. Running back, like I said before, there's just not a lot of value at this point compared. And I like the upside of Emmanuel Sanders. The guy has just proven it over and over. So that's who I'm grabbing here. Anthony Miller is going to have a great year, I think, as long as Foles is the guy throwing the ball at him.
Well, and that was one of those things where, for me, it was going to be either Emmanuel Sanders or Anthony Miller at this pick. So it was always just going to be whoever you didn't pick at this one, because we were both on the same page. We both like Emmanuel Sanders, and we both like Anthony Miller this year.
Yeah. They just have good situations, I think.
Yeah. And then, I still have a tight end slot open, but kind of like you said, I think we're going to have a possibility of picking up one probably within this next pick or so. There should be some guys still there.
Yeah.
The Noah Fant, the Hayden Hurst, even though I have Calvin Ridley on my on my roster, it's the Atlanta Falcons. I don't like to double up, but they're going to throw it.
There's plenty of volume. There's plenty of volume.
So that is, I just said, don't double up on teammates. That could be one of your exceptions when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, I don't have a problem usually doubling up like running back wide receiver or running back tight end.
Yeah,
as long as it's not the same position. Yeah, as long as they're not fighting with one another for the same value coming out of the offense. So tight end, wide receiver, that's a little tougher, but I can stomach that. That's not a problem.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and pick Anthony Miller.
All right. Okay, so let's see who came off the board. You got Anthony Miller, then Rashad Penny, right? You've got Alshon Jeffrey, Golden Tate, Sammy Watkins, in the 11th round. Talking about a wide receiver 2, right?
Nice. Well, the guy that I wanted to drop to me for tight end is there, and his name is Noah Fant. It's down to Noah Fant or Hayden Hurst, really.
Yeah.
Truthfully. I mean, I do like Jack Doyle, of course, of my Indianapolis Colts, but I just like the potential for Noah Fant in this offense and being a second-year tight end. I love second-year players, especially a tight end. They just always have that jump. So I'll just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and go ahead and choose Noah Fant and let you choose who you got next. And I think I know who you're choosing.
Fantastic, right?
Yep.
All right. So let's see what's what's up on the board here. We're still fading kicker and defense. That's a given, right?
Oh yeah.
As far as wide receiver goes, you're starting to dig into the situation where you've got guys who are rookies and that sort of stuff. You're looking at running backs who are still splitting carries. These are just guys who are hoping to pick stuff up off of everybody. And at this point, what's available at tight end is going to be a premier player. And I've already said it. I don't like Cook. I don't like Gronkowski. I don't like Hooper anymore. I had him last year, and I got him in the 8th round, I want to say, where I picked him up. And it was the situation more than it was the player. And so there's a different guy who's sitting in that situation now. And that's Hayden Hurst. And that's where I'm going to go here, is with Hayden Hurst.
Yep.
And you knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were going to choose
Hayden
Noah
Hurst
Fant
in the
if
11th
I chose
round.
Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Or I would have considered letting go, seeing if I want Jonnu Smith or Jack Doyle or even Blake Jarwin. So,
So after the Hayden Hurst, you had Zach Moss of the Bills come off, Tariq Cohen, Tony Pollard, N'Keal Harry, T. Higgins, Duke Johnson, Buffalo Bills defense, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense at the end of the 11th round. So at the beginning of 12th, we had Chase Edmonds, Royce Freeman, he might not make the roster, Jamison Crowder, hashtag Twami, Tyrell Williams. Who else we got? Preston Williams, Brashard Perriman, Henry Rhodes, and it's you.
All right.
Ninth pick of the 12th round.
I'm leaning running back here.
Okay.
And we're in the 12th round. We're not sitting too terribly right now. We've got
Don't
QB and tight end are gone.
Don't you snipe my guy.
I don't know who your guy is here. So I don't know. The guy that I'm leaning towards here, there's a lot of opportunities here, right? Anthony McFarland Jr. is going to be friggin' phenomenal, I think, this year when he gets the ball.
That's just when he gets the ball.
Yeah. But the guy who is in an offense that wants to run a lot and is starting to and is going to steal a job is A.J. Dillon.
Yeah.
I like A.J. Dillon here. I think that Jamal Williams is going to lose this job. And so I'm going to go ahead and grab him. If anybody's going to steal carries from Aaron Jones, it's A.J. Dillon.
Nice. So I was down to two guys again on this one. Really, I liked A.J. Dillon a lot, and that is who I said my guy is. But another guy I do like a lot this year is Boston Scott.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it is Miles Sanders' job, but we've talked about this multiple times. It's Doug Peterson is the coach, and we have not really seen him go to a bell cow type running back. And Boston Scott had, he took some stuff away from Miles Sanders towards the end, but they were both able to produce at the end of the season. And the 17th week, which, we don't really care about that in fantasy reasons, but Boston Scott blew up that 17th week whenever they had Miles Sanders sit or, he barely played. So he's got talent.
Yeah.
And you're at the end of the 12th round. You're just looking for guys that have flashed before Boston Scott has, and he's one of those ones where if for some reason Miles Sanders goes down, this guy jumps up to RB2 type potential.
Look, I would put Boston Scott personally on the same level as Alexander Madison.
Yeah.
I think Alexander Madison is a little bit better of a player, right? High-end handcuff. It's really what that boils down to.
Yep. I'm going to go ahead and choose him.
All right. Coming off the board is Justin Jackson. What's that? You're not.
That's my homer pick.
So Justin Jackson, Austin Hooper, Rob Gronkowski, and is that Michael Pittman? Is that who that is? Yeah.
That was my homer pick. Okay, so let's recap real quick. I have 1, 2.
Here, I'll pull up your roster, see where you are here.
3, 4, 5 running backs, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers. So I still have some potential here.
Yeah, you could go running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, running back, whatever it is. I think that right here, that's what you're focusing on is just those two positions, and you're going to take whatever comes to you.
Well, I said my homer pick went right before this, Michael Pittman Jr., but there is still another homer pick I could go with, and that's Paris Campbell. He's going to probably play in the slot, but he's also going to be kind of a gadget player, which you might not have consistent kind of production with something like that, but they really want to get him the ball. He's 6 foot tall, 4.3 speed. The guy can just blaze on the field. It's just keeping him on there, and he's never really had injury issues in college, from what I remember. So he had a lot of fluke injuries this year. I think he's going to be better. I'm going to go with Paris Campbell.
All right.
Don't be afraid to choose a homer pick if you have some, you know what I mean? If
you
feel
you
good
might
about
know
a guy,
more about him. Yeah, you might know more about him than a lot of other people do.
Yeah.
All right. So like I said, I'm looking running back or wide receiver here. I'm not talking at all again about QB or tight end. I do like Jarwin a whole lot. I think that he's going to surprise a lot of people this year. And if I had missed out on the tight end that I would, decided to grab, which is Hayden Hurst, then I would have probably held pat and just taken Blake Jarwin at the very back of the draft because he's going to be available there. He's not going to be drafted in a lot of leagues. And you're going to get crazy sideways looks if you do pick him. Right now, I'm looking at running back. And if I'm picking up anybody here, it's straight up just a handcuff. Probably, I'd grab Durant Evans probably, or I'm looking at wide receiver. Jalen Reagor could come in, get some work done. Curtis
man.
Samuel,
He's got some aging wide receivers ahead of him that were hurt a lot last year.
Yeah, and then you've got Curtis Samuel, who's not bad, I think. Those are the guys that I think are in solid situations. You've also got Larry Fitzgerald, D.D. Westbrook sitting down there. There's
Curtis
a lot of guys at
Samuel's
wide
still
receiver.
available at 13.
Yeah,
that's pretty dang good.
That's pretty good, and that's probably where I'm going to end up going here because I think at running back I could pick pretty much any guy there. And I think that Curtis Samuel, he's a wide receiver too, probably. I like D.D. Westbrook here too, as well, but it's not where I'm going right now. Like I said, I'm going to play as it comes to me here. Who are you?
Damian Harris.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think he's going to win that job at some point.
That's why I was hoping to take a flyer on him. Ravens defense, Jamal Williams after yours, Adrian Peterson, Jared Cook, Raquel Armstead of the Jaguars, Mike Gesicki, Jalen Reagor, Deshaun Jackson, Nyheim Hines, Justice Hill, Carlos Hyde, Darrington Evans, Lamar Miller, Damian Harris, Benny Snell, Marcus Brown? I can't remember. Malcolm Brown.
Malcolm Brown.
Yep, and then it's you.
All right, so I would have probably been leaning on either Damian Harris or Darrington Evans.
Yep.
Here, that's who I would have been aiming for, but obviously, I accidentally clicked on Raquel Armstead, who I am not interested in. Those are the guys I would have been aiming for here. You said Darrington Evans went off the board, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I want a running back here. I wanted somebody who I'm going to take a chance might end up with the job. I like Benny Snell a whole lot out in Pittsburgh. And I think that if James Conner's not getting the job done, it's going to be Snell. But I like Anthony McFarland Jr.
Mm-hmm.
This guy just moves. His BMI is 31. And he's flying around the field. That is a big guy moving a lot of weight. And I just have flashbacks of Jerome Bettis, in his heyday, coming straight out of he went to Notre Dame, I think, right? So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, you took basically the last draftable running back, in my opinion. I mean, you look at the board, we have Antonio Gibson, Giovanni Bernard, Joshua Kelly, Jalen Richard, Gus Edwards, Ito Smith. I mean, none of those guys are really screaming, oh, I got to take this guy because, tons of upside.
Yeah.
So basically with that, I'm not going to take another tight end, even though Jonnu Smith does look pretty good right here. You're at the 14th round, but not a big fan of taking two tight ends.
No, I mean, it's not terrible at the very back of the draft to grab there. You're looking at a flyer, like somebody who might hit for you there. I mean, it's not terrible.
Jack Doyle is still there as well. Blake Jarwin's still there for tight end.
I mean, you're balancing like, okay, I'm looking at a depth pick for anything there.
Yeah.
Tight end, wide receiver, running back, whatever it is. The question is this guy ever going to get onto your lineup? You've only got one slot. Is he only going to fit in on a bye week? You got 5 seconds, by the way.
I went ahead and picked Jonnu Smith.
All right. Yeah, I think that's not terrible to do.
No.
All right, so these last two picks that we're looking at, we're just going to do kicker and a defense. It's really nothing too complicated. We put these off because these are the streamable positions. With a kicker, you're playing strictly luck almost. What you're looking at is just a team that is scoring a lot of points, hopefully, or moving the ball a good amount. That's what you want. And then defense, it really is a guessing game mostly. You're looking at matchups and that sort of stuff. So
right,
it's kind of the same way that you evaluate a survivor pick.
Yeah. It is kind of a dartboard at this point, really. Minnesota lost a lot of pieces at their defense because they had to pay freaking Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Saints.
They still have to pay Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. I feel like Saints are going to have a good defense this year. You see the strength of schedule, number 6 strength of schedule. I have them ranked pretty well, so I think I'm going to just go ahead and choose the Saints. Is either actually that or the Broncos for me. That's who it's down to.
Yeah. Oh boy. So I'm looking at the kickers and the defense here. Yeah, I mean, the Rams says they've got the number 1 strength of schedule. They're not terrible. They're projected to get a good amount of points. If I'm looking over at the kicker, there's still a lot of really good value in the kicker category. Yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, they're all there. So when it comes back around to me, the odds are I'm going to get somewhere around the 4th, 5th, or 6th guy right there. So I'm leaning defense here. Just a small bit of strategy, basically. And, these are the suggested players that they're giving me. I don't know that it's going to let me see the other stuff here. If I look at the top ranked, it's not showing me any defenses. All right. So I'm looking at either, I guess I'm probably focused on the Rams is where I'm going to go, I guess. I mean, I could take the Vikings. They're going to get the beat up on possibly Trubisky a little bit, but
Biscuit.
Yeah, Truth Biscuit. But I'm going to go ahead and go with the Rams. All right, and then you look and see there's still just a lot of guys there. So there was a run finally on kickers. So
yeah, I mean we're at the very end of the draft pretty much. So after the Rams that you chose, Hunter Renfrow, Denzel Mims, Ben Roethlisberger. The Packers defense, Harrison Butker, Greg Zuerlein, Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield. At the beginning of the 16th round, we had Will Lutz, Robbie Gould, L.A. Chargers, Minnesota Vikings, Kai Fairbairn, Matt Gay, Matt Prater, Jake Elliott, and it's you, sir. Who are you?
All right. So it's down to basically 2 guys for me here.
All right, let me guess. Is it Zane Gonzalez and Young Ho Koo?
Yeah. That's all that's worth considering here, in my opinion. Between these 2 guys. And so I'll take one and Justin will end up taking the other is what's going to happen.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Atlanta scores a good amount of points. They move the ball a lot. But Arizona wants to run a lot of plays. There's a lot of offense going around. And, I mean, you can't ignore last year for that guy. They're marking him as having a terrible strength of schedule. Ignore that when it comes to kickers. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so we're going to go with Zane Gonzalez and call it a day. All right, you're on the clock.
I think I'm going to choose Adam Vinatieri.
Yeah, him and his nephew, right?
Maybe Morton Anderson. Is he still on here?
I don't know.
Yeah, let's just make it easy. Yeah, well, actually, so you'd be curious to see what the another homer for the Colts. They have 2 guys, Chase McLaughlin, and then they drafted Rodrigo Blankenship. So it's actually, or they didn't draft him. I'm sorry, he was one of the free agents, undrafted free agents, but he could have been drafted. So I'd be curious to see. I might just pull one of those. I like to be a homer type thing, especially if it's a kicker. Once you're looking for a good offense that's going to score some points, and that means they're on the other side of the field as well, and they're going to get some field goals. But Young Ho Koo, can't pass him up. Let's go.
All right. So that's it. We knocked out a 16-round draft right there. They're not really impressed with my picks. For whatever reason, they're saying I got the last in the starter category here for some reason. My bench, though, is second. So it's got me 6th overall. Not really sure how that pans out, but They grade it out. It's based on their ADP, their consensus rankings. And so I've got a different opinion than a lot of people on a lot of this stuff. And so, that is what it is.
They had me down for an A 96 out of 100. Once again, though, my starting ranking is 9th, out of 12 teams, but it's my bench, I guess, is just a Studley bench. That's what they have me as an A, and I don't think you're able to see the draft analysis, so I can just kind of run through some of ours. So for steals, 2+ rounds, John Smith was the only one I had. You didn't have any 2+ round steals, but let's see here. Value pick, you had Emmanuel Sanders. Your 10th round pick was a very good value pick. That is for sure.
Yeah. I was surprised to see him sitting there.
Yeah, a couple reaches by the both of us, but it's one of those things where it's only reaches by what they say, not compared to what we think and how we feel about, our teams and how we want to build them.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
So in the end, Fantasy Pros has its own opinions on things, and it is a an expert consensus type of site, and so that's the way they build it out. They've got a consensus algorithm that pulls together all these different experts. Right now, I think it's using roughly like 42 different experts, and it's still very early in the year, and a lot of early drafting is just really weird right now. That's just kind of how it runs. So anything can happen. I'm not upset with the team at all. If I pull up the roster here, I think that this is a solid team. It's probably giving me grief about Matthew Stafford being.
Go through your roster real quick if you can.
All right, so I've got Matthew Stafford, Derrick Henry, Raheem Mostert, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett, Hayden Hurst, DeAndre Swift, the Rams, Zane Gonzalez, Emmanuel Sanders, Deontay Johnson, J.K. Dobbins, Curtis Samuel, A.J. Dillon, and Anthony McFarland. I got a lot of youth on my team. That's probably
a lot of youth and a lot of upside.
Yeah, they're probably hitting me with that. But I feel like I have a lot of solid players in my starting spots, right? I mean, I've got Derrick Henry. Raheem Mostert's a little bit of a question mark, but as an RB2, no, that's perfectly fine. Right. For whatever reason, it chooses your flex for you.
Yeah,
I would probably be flexing Emmanuel Sanders ahead of DeAndre Swift right now.
Right now, because you just don't know. Yeah. But let's say if Kerryon Johnson, something happens with him, and it's DeAndre Swift's job,
at best
that's
right
a very
now,
easy flex.
Yeah, at best right now, I think that Kerryon Johnson's getting 50-50 on these carries. Yeah. Like I think that's where he's sitting right now. Wide receiver, I feel extremely solid. I have 3 guys who are the wide receiver 1 on their team.
Yeah,
Mike Evans is a 1A 1B guy. But Amari Cooper is still 1 on his team. I don't see Gallup passing him up with a Mike McCarthy offense. And Tyler Lockett is still the wide receiver 1 on that team, no matter how many people think that DK Metcalf is the guy. Quit trying to make DK Metcalf happen. He's good, he's solid, but I don't see him passing up a guy who has clear rapport with Russell Wilson. They're giving me Russell Wilson. They're giving me grief, I'm sure, over Hayden Hurst because his ADP over on Fantasy Football Calculator right now is like 18th.
Same with Fant for me.
Yeah. So look, we're drafting guys who we see as the ones who are going to end up helping you win your league, that are the guys that no one else is grabbing necessarily.
Yep. Here, let me go through my roster real quick. At QB, I have
we can see it right here actually.
Okay, yeah. So Carson Wentz, Ezekiel Elliott, Kenyon Drake as my running backs, OBJ, Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods, Noah Fant, Marvin Jones as my flex, Saints defense, Younghoe Koo as my kicker, Cam Akers on my bench, Jordan Howard, Anthony Miller, Jonnu Smith, Boston Scott, Paris Campbell. I feel, for one, I feel pretty darn good about my running back, my 1-2 punch there with Ezekiel Elliott and Kenyon Drake. They are the guys on their team. I mean, not really much to debate there.
Yeah.
I also feel really good about my wide receivers, really. You know what I mean? Like, Calvin Ridley could be, he's the wide receiver 2 on his team, but he could potentially finish as a wide receiver 1 in fantasy as well with Julio.
Mm-hmm.
That's entirely possible. Yeah. And then Robert Woods, OBJ, bounce back, Marvin Jones. We both love Marvin Jones this year. So I feel pretty good, and I really like my
Marvin
bench
Jones
as
and
well.
Kenny Galladay. So
yeah, absolutely. So I
yeah,
feel really happy about my team I was able to get.
yeah, I think that this works out perfectly fine. It is it's a tough spot to draft from. 3 and 4, they're not the greatest spots to draft
Right.
from because you're sitting waiting for a long time, but you're not getting the pick of the litter,
Right.
right? So between your, like from round 1 to round 2, you're sitting for a very long time.
Yeah.
So to see a value like Mike Evans come back to you in the second round is pretty good, I think. I would have hoped to see Kenny Galladay maybe fall down there to me. I would have preferred him in that spot. I'm
Right.
surprised to see DeAndre Hopkins going the 5th pick of the second round. That blows my mind. Why is Tyreek Hill ahead of DeAndre Hopkins? So
I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know. I've had Tyreek Hill a number of years in a keeper league, and I like Tyreek Hill a lot. He's not a first round guy.
He's not better than DeAndre Hopkins, or
He's
I don't
just
think
not
he's better than Kenny
consistent. He's
Galladay
not.
either. No.
Yeah, he's not consistent enough. So this is grading me out at a B. It looks worse than it is when you look at these like bar charts or whatever. It's grading me out at a B, 85 out of 100. And what I would do to try to figure out what it is that I like about my team and try to build off of that is I would mock probably 3-4 times in a row and try to get about 25 mocks in the week before my draft that I'm focusing on, so that I can figure out, okay, if I'm drafting from this slot, let's say I know my slot. If I'm drafting from this slot, I have a really good idea of what happens in these first few picks, in these first few rounds, so that I know how to shape my roster the way I want it.
Yeah.
And that's what you should really do, is focus on mocking as many times as you can. So, all right, that's what we're going to do, is we're going to try to mock as many times as we can. We're going to start picking up the pace here possibly as well, and start trying to knock things out.
We'll probably start tossing in some other type of settings and leads as well, like PPR, half PPR.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start messing around with that so we kind of hit a lot more. That's why I really like Fantasy Pros, is you can really customize to how you want to do things. Let's say you're in a keeper league, you can put keepers in.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons that I
pull from Yahoo.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I actually started using their software, was that I was interested in the keeper league aspect of it and how it's synced with the league that I was in, and so I was able to mock with those keepers already in there. I didn't have to do anything about it; it was just already uploaded.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we're gonna pick up our volume of videos, I think, here coming up. We're gonna have some different varieties, some different types, maybe not things that you're gonna see from everybody else who's out there. So it's a little bit different stuff. A lot deeper dive usually is what we give you. Yeah, it's a little bit longer. But what I think we're going to be doing here is we're going to shorten up some of these episodes. We're going to offer episodes of a lot of different lengths, and hopefully you guys like what you see, and you're able to give us some feedback on what you're getting out of it, what you like, what you don't like, and maybe we can improve for you.
Yeah, please comment. Let us know. Let us know how wrong we are.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, tell us how bad we mock drafted today. Right? Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and kick this thing off, right? All right, so you're watching us here on YouTube or the Fantasy Football Upside. Our Twitter handle is @FFB_upside. At Facebook, we are @FFB Upside. There's no underscore there. You can search for us there as well for the Fantasy Football Upside. You can also find us on our podcast. We are on Spotify, Stitcher, what's the other one?
Apple Podcasts
and Podbean, and you've got a couple others that you're looking into right now.
Yep.
And so you can go ahead and give us a download over there, and you can listen to this stuff. Probably the mock draft's a little more entertaining on a video. So if you're listening to us, go ahead and check that out. You can get an idea of what the Fantasy Pros software looks like. It also integrates with your draft if you're doing an online draft, so you can utilize it at the same time that you're doing your draft, which is really great for like I said, the predictive stuff is really useful in that respect. You can also catch us on our email right now. You can get us at thefantasyfootballupside@gmail.com. And make sure that you don't forget to go ahead and hit that subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, hit the bell as well, so that you're notified when the best fantasy football podcast is uploaded every Tuesday and Thursday, and possibly more here soon. And I want to thank you guys again for being a fan of the Upside, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.